Ever wondered what it truly takes to transform a vast, diverse nation? I mean, 285 million people spread across thousands of islands into a digital payments powerhouse.
It's a huge undertaking.
Right. It seems monumental, but that's exactly what Indonesia is doing. Today, we're taking a deep dive into an expert analysis of their digital payment industry.
It's a fascinating space.
Absolutely. Our mission here is to, pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge from this comprehensive report, give you a shortcut to understanding this incredibly fast-moving landscape.
Yeah.
We'll explore the market's explosive growth, the innovative players driving it, and the smart policies making it all happen.
And what's truly fascinating, I think, is how Indonesia's unique macroeconomic foundation has created such, fertile ground for this digital boom.
How so?
Well, we're talking about Southeast Asia's largest economy, GDP exceeding IDR 22,139 trillion in 2024. That's roughly 1.4 trillion US dollars.
Yeah.
Huge scale. But it's not just the economic muscle, it's also about overcoming these significant geographical challenges that come with being, an archipelago nation.
Thousands of islands.
Exactly. And crucially, this isn't just some tech trend. It's really a profound cultural transformation, especially vital for its vast micro, small, and medium enterprise sector, the MSMEs.
Ah, the MSMEs. They're a big part of the economy there, aren't they?
It's huge. Over 60% of GDP and nearly 97% of the workforce. And many have been historically underbanked.
Right.
So for them, these digital solutions aren't just convenient, they are, frankly, a lifeline for financial inclusion.
Okay, let's unpack those numbers then, because the growth figures in this report they're absolutely staggering.
They really are.
Different sources give slightly varying valuations, I noticed, but the direction is just undeniably massive growth. The payments infrastructure market, for example, is projected to surge from about USD 512 million this year, 2024, to over USD 3.19 billion by 2033. That's a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of 22.50%. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Go on.
Mobile payments alone, they're projected to nearly triple from around USD 41 billion in 2025 to almost USD 99 billion by 2030.
98.7 billion, yeah. That's just a phenomenal leap.
It really is.
And if we connect these figures to the bigger picture, that slight difference you mentioned in valuations, it likely reflects different definitions.
Oh, okay.
One might focus on the core infrastructure, the terminals, the gateways, that kind of thing. The other captures the broader ecosystem, including the massive transaction volumes flowing through it.
So the actual money moving around.
Exactly. It highlights that the real value isn't just in the tech itself, but in the sheer velocity and volume of money moving through these digital platforms. And that's largely driven by a young, tech-savvy population and how deeply payments are getting integrated into daily life.
That makes sense.
And the report helps break this down a bit further. Remote payments still dominate about 68% of the mobile market.
Which fits with the geography and e-commerce boom.
Precisely. But don't overlook proximity payments, those transactions, when you're physically present, like scanning a QR code.
Like at a shop counter.
Yeah. Those are actually the fastest growing segment, projected at a 22% CAGR, thanks largely to the widespread adoption of something called QRIS.
QRIS. Okay. We'll need to circle back to that.
Okay.
And what about those direct payments between people and businesses? P2M.
Yes. Person to merchant, or P2M, transactions. Think about any time you pay a business directly, tapping your phone at a coffee shop, buying online.
Gotcha.
These commanded a significant share, about 45%, and that's been boosted by clever incentives, things like fee holidays for smaller transactions, under roughly IDR 500,000, which is about $30 US.
Oh, interesting. So that helps the smaller guys get on board.
Absolutely. It really encourages small businesses, even the tiniest warungs or street vendors, to embrace digital payments. So whether you're buying online or at a physical store, these trends point to an increasingly seamless, cashless experience for you. And the growth in business usage, supported by these big initiatives to bring, 25.5 million MSMEs into the digital economy, it means the entire ecosystem is getting this huge inclusive boost.
That kind of explosive growth must attract some intense competition. Who are the dominant players we're seeing emerge? Are they just payment providers, or is there something more strategic going on?
Oh, you're right about the competition. It's fierce. The report tells us e-wallets are king. Massive awareness, something like 96% among Indonesians.
Wow.
We're talking names like GoPay, OVO, Dana, ShopeePay, all battling it out.
Familiar names.
But what's really strategic, as you hinted, is the super app model.
Ah, the super apps.
Yeah, GoPay, for instance, is tied into Gojek, the ride-hailing and delivery giant. OVO is linked with Grab and Tokopedia, Shopee with Shopee.
So it's not just the wallet, it's the whole platform.
Exactly. This isn't just about offering a payment service. It's about embedding payments within these high-frequency apps that consumers use, well, every single day.
So it becomes less about choosing a payment method and more about living within that app's world, a whole ecosystem.
That's a great way to put it. It creates this powerful, often closed-loop system. Payments become integral to everything: rides, food delivery, shopping, bill payments, even things like micro-investments.
Okay.
And this allows these platforms to capture user data, build really strong loyalty, and basically become indispensable. Plus, they rely heavily on incentives, cashback, discounts to pull in and keep a pretty price-sensitive consumer base.
Then what about the traditional banks? BCA, BNI, BRI, are they just watching this happen?
Not at all. They're definitely not passive observers. They've launched their own digital services, of course. But I think the more profound trend is how they're evolving into collaborators with the fintechs.
Collaborators, how?
Through things like open APIs, platforms like Briapia from Bank Rakyat Indonesia, for instance. They've partnered with over 570 businesses, including those major players we just mentioned.
So the bank provides the rails, in a way.
Yeah, kind of. This open API approach lets banks integrate their core services like virtual accounts, account information directly into the fintech apps. It streamlines processes like payment reconciliation, cutting it down from minutes to seconds.
That's incredibly powerful, embedding finance like that.
Yeah.
But for the average person, does this kind of closed-loop ecosystem create a risk, like being locked into one platform maybe, or concerns about how much data these super apps are gathering?
Those are absolutely critical questions, and they really point to this tension between innovation and user protection, user choice.
Yeah.
And the drive for market dominance is definitely real, which leads to the question of consolidation. Are we seeing big shakeups?
Like mergers.
Exactly. There's been ongoing speculation, for instance, about a potential OVO-Dinea merger. Now, recent rumors were denied back in September 2024.
Okay.
But the underlying strategic logic, pooling resources, user bases to create a stronger challenger against the other big players, often with multinational backing. That logic still makes a lot of sense.
So consolidation could still be on the cards, potentially reshaping the landscape. Fewer, maybe even more powerful super apps.
It's certainly possible. It's a very dynamic arena.
Okay, so behind all this innovation, this growth, this fierce competition, there has to be some kind of forward-thinking regulatory environment, right?
Yeah.
How has Indonesia managed to steer this ship so effectively?
This is where Indonesia truly stands out, I think. At the core is the Indonesia Payment System Blueprint, or BSPI 2025.
BSPI 2025.
Yes. And this isn't just some dusty document. It's the overarching vision, a really comprehensive roadmap for modernizing the whole national payment system.
What are its main goals?
It's built on key pillars: open banking, strengthening the infrastructure, promoting financial inclusion. It's meticulously designed to foster innovation while ensuring stability, security, and fairness across the board.
Okay, a guiding blueprint.
Yeah.
And what are some of the key initiatives that have come out of this that, we as consumers might actually see or use?
Well, two of the most impactful are definitely QRIS and BFast.
All right, you mentioned QRIS earlier, Quick Response Code Indonesian Standard.
That's the one. Launched back in 2019. Before QRIS, it was, well, a mess. Every bank, every payment provider had its own QR code, fragmented, confusing for everyone.
I can imagine.
QRIS unified all of that, created one single universal standard for every QR transaction in the country. Interoperability was key.
And the result.
A remarkable 163% year-on-year surge in transaction volume, adoption by over 38 million merchants. And incredibly, 92.5% of those merchants are MSMEs.
Wow, 92.5% MSMEs. That's incredible adoption, especially among the small businesses you said were often underbanked.
It really is. Then there's BI-FAST. That's the real-time payment system.
Okay.
It basically revolutionized interbank transfers, made them instant and really low cost.
How widespread is that?
Get this. In July 2025 alone, BI-FAST handled an astonishing 414.6 million transactions, worth IDR 1 quadrillion, that's roughly 64 billion US dollars.
In 1 month.
1 month. That amount is nearly half of Indonesia's total annual card transaction value.
That's staggering.
Yeah.
So what drove such rapid adoption for both QRIS and BIFAST?
It's a brilliant example, really, of aligning top-down policy with bottom-up consumer pull.
How so?
The convenience, the speed, those instant rewards like e-wallet cashback,
Hmm?
it just makes the digital options feel easier and smarter for you, the consumer. It facilitated a genuine cultural shift.
So policy met user demand perfectly.
Exactly. It's a masterclass in policy design. And crucially, QRIS is centralized under Bank Indonesia, their central bank.
Okay, so the government runs it.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
They operate it. This allowed them to treat it almost like a public good infrastructure, and that gave them a unique policy lever.
Which was?
Strategically waiving merchant fees, the MDR, for microbusinesses on smaller transactions. They basically subsidized adoption among the very MSMEs who often face the highest barriers to new tech.
Ah, that explains the high MSME uptake.
Precisely. This public policy approach, combined with that instant consumer gratification, created this almost irresistible pull. It accelerated a cultural shift that might have taken decades otherwise.
That's a really clever blend of top-down direction and bottom-up incentives. What else is contributing to this structured growth, particularly around connecting different financial services?
Well, a key pillar of that BSPI 2025 blueprint is promoting open banking. And that was formalized by SNFP, the national standard for open API payment, launched in August 2021.
SNAP. Okay, Open API sounds technical.
Think of it like a universal plug-and-play standard for financial apps. Before SNA, every bank and fintech had to build custom connections, like everyone having a different electrical socket type.
Right, messy.
SNAP provided a common, secure blueprint. This made it incredibly easy and fast for new fintechs to securely connect with banks. It dramatically accelerated innovation and streamlined processes like that payment reconciliation we talked about from minutes down to seconds.
So it lowered the barrier for new players to enter and connect.
Exactly. And to manage all this innovation while maintaining control, Indonesia uses a regulatory sandbox framework.
A sandbox.
Yeah.
For testing things out.
Yeah. Both Bank Indonesia and the Financial Services Authority, the OJK, they oversee banks, fintechs, etc., operate these sandboxes. They let companies test new fintech products in a controlled environment.
Smart.
They're even exploring a coordinated sandbox between BI and OJK to handle areas where their responsibilities overlap. Shows they're adaptive. We also saw this flexibility with the shift of crypto asset oversight to OJK and BI in January 2025. They reclassified them as financial instruments, really aiming for better consumer protection.
Okay, so a very proactive and structured approach.
Right.
But despite all this incredible progress, the report does highlight that it's not all perfect. There are still challenges.
Absolutely.
It points out this significant financial inclusion paradox. Around 91 million adults still unbanked or underbanked, many of them MSMEs, lacking access to basic things like credit. That number seems huge, given everything else.
It is staggering, and it raises that important question. Why the paradox? Why such high access to some services, but still so many excluded from the full benefit?
What does the report say?
It identifies a major financial literacy gap. Remember, inclusion, just having access, reached 85% in 2022. But financial literacy, actually understanding how to use those services effectively, was only 49%.
Less than half. So people have the tools, but maybe not the know-how.
Exactly. Many have access, but lack the knowledge to truly benefit, maybe avoid pitfalls. Then there's the digital divide. Many rural areas still lack reliable internet.
Right, the infrastructure challenge.
And persistent sociocultural factors. A preference for cash is still there. Over 10% of e-commerce purchases are still paid for with cash, believe it or not.
Wow, even online.
Yeah. And then there are the growing threats, cybersecurity and fraud. A 12% increase in cyber attacks reported in 2023.
That's concerning.
Very. And a May 2025 report showed 38% of consumer complaints to the OJK were linked to fintech platforms. It just underscores this critical need for stronger data protection and, again, better digital literacy programs.
So while Indonesia is racing ahead, these aren't small hurdles. They're actively being targeted by policy. You mentioned education initiatives.
Yes, government-backed financial education programs are part of the strategy, but it's definitely an ongoing effort. Bridging that literacy gap takes time.
So, okay, Indonesia faces these very real internal hurdles, literacy access, but it's not letting those define its whole story. It seems like it's simultaneously playing a much bigger game internationally.
That's what's so fascinating. Even while tackling domestic inclusion, there's this strong outward-looking strategy.
What's driving that?
It's about positioning Indonesia as a regional leader. They've been really proactive in regional and international payment integration.
How so?
They have successfully linked their QRIS system, that universal QR code, with Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand.
Meaning?
meaning travelers can make payments abroad using their familiar domestic apps. Imagine using your Indonesian payment app to grab coffee in Singapore. Seamless.
That's a huge convenience for travel and trade.
Absolutely. And in August 2025, QRI even launched for the Japanese market. Trials for China are reportedly underway too.
So they're really pushing for cross-border connectivity.
They really are. It truly sets them apart. And this makes Indonesia such a compelling case study because unlike some purely market-driven models, their QRIS infrastructure is centralized and operated by Bank Indonesia.
Right, you mentioned that public policy lever.
Exactly. It allows QRIS to function as a tool for national goals, like waiving fees for microbusinesses to drive inclusive adoption domestically, while simultaneously using that same unified system to build bridges internationally. It's quite a unique approach.
So wrapping this all up, what does the future look like? What are the big trends shaping the next phase?
Well, continued growth seems certain, driven by trends like buy now, pay later, BNPL. That grew almost 43% year on year in 2024, and it's becoming deeply integrated into the e-wallet ecosystems.
BNPL is everywhere now.
It is. We'll also see more embedded financial services woven into non-financial apps and the continued rise of digital native banks like CBank, Bank Jago.
And further out,
Yeah.
more futuristic stuff.
Potentially. Innovations like voice payments, biometric authentication, these could become mainstream, making payments almost invisible, frictionless.
So for you, the listener, taking this deep dive, it really shows Indonesia's journey isn't just about cool tech, is it?
Not at all.
It's about this really concerted effort. Policymakers, market players, even consumers like you, all pushing together to reshape an entire economy. The strategic recommendations from this report really hammer home collaboration, robust security, and that ongoing need for investment in financial literacy.
And looking ahead, I think a critical question emerges for Indonesia as digital payments become the absolute default and these ecosystems consolidate even further. How do you balance the immense power of these super apps with the absolute imperative of truly inclusive growth? Growth that reaches every single one of those 285 million citizens.
Right.
The current focus on tackling the literacy gaps, strengthening data protection, investing in rural infrastructure, it all suggests this journey towards full financial inclusion is very much ongoing, still evolving.
It's not mission accomplished yet.
Far from it. And it makes you wonder, what role will these future innovations, voice, biometrics, whatever comes next, play in bridging the divides that still exist? And could they perhaps even create new kinds of divides for you and others navigating this increasingly digital world?